the Lord just gave me a dream, a revelation. In this dream, I went to a city and I was staying in this apartment that was in a bad section of the neighborhood. And some reason I was staying there, and I had to stay there because I had no money and it was very cheap to live there. Meanwhile, I was in this dilapidated building and my apartment was okay. Then somehow the back of the building was like destroyed and people could get in. And the people that got in were people that lived on the street. They didn't have anywhere to live. And they would come in at nighttime and you could hear them, and they'd be all on drugs and drunk and stuff like that. And then one night they got in, and then they got into my apartment. And many of them came in, more than I could count. And they were everywhere. They were in my apartment. They were everywhere else. They were out in the hall. They were in other people's apartments. And they were doing drugs, and there was all kinds of things going on. Sex and prostitution and stuff like that. And then I remember walking around my own apartment, and on my kitchen counter, people were doing drugs, and then they were like, "You want some?" And I had to leave my own house. And there was an old friend in the stream, and she left in her car, and she had a Mercedes. And I watched her as she drove away, and I was thinking, why didn't she give me a ride to my real home? And I had no money, I had no wallet, nothing, because it was all in my apartment, and that was all. It was all taken by the people. And I remember running around seeing stuff. My stuff was missing. And then I woke up and I repented for being concerned about my worldly stuff that people were taking, being angry at the people. For taking it. In real life, in wakefulness, I repented from that. And then I fell back asleep, and then I was on the street. And I had no change of clothes. I had nowhere to go. Oh, because I remember why I was on the street. Because they condemned the building where my apartment was, and they were going to blow it up. And I found some food. Oh, that's how I ended up on the street. I found a box of food, and I talked to someone that I knew, and I said, hey, can I go give this to all the people that were here, the homeless people? And he said, yeah, sure. They're going to throw it out anyway as soon as corporate comes and does a write-off. And I said, surely you're not going to miss this box. And they said, no, you can have that. So I took it out on the street, and I gave it to the homeless people. And then I was around the homeless people. And then before I knew it, I was a homeless person. And I was dirty and didn't have any clothes, and my hair was long and matted. And then I remember going to the police station to ask for help. And you couldn't get into the police station. It was just a window. And I walked up to the window, and I had a bottle in my hand for some reason. And I was slowly losing myself. And then I walked up to the window to ask for help. And the police officer, he just smiled, took the bottle from me and yanked it out of my hands, and then looked at me. And I didn't know what to say. I had even forgotten where I lived. in another town where my friend had left in her Mercedes, a symbol of wealth. So now I turned and I left the police station and walked down the street. And I was trying to remember my address. And I didn't have a memory of it. And then I remember I found a piece of paper and it had my address on it. And I held that dearly. That was my home. No one could help me. No one wanted to help me. No one would even talk to me. The only people that would talk to me were street people, and they were not of their right mind. They were, mentally ill. They were on drugs. They had been out on the street so long that all they knew was how to survive. So then the dream became a collection of images. The images were products. And the products were like a bag of chips, but it was the store brand. And the store brand was Luz, which is Luz, which, as far as I know, in Spanish is light. And the image, I'm going to draw it. And the image was on each package. And the packages that I got, it was like, one time it was a yogurt, one time it was like a bag of cheese, one time it was this. And I understood that it was packages that people were giving me to feed me. And it was my force of life, was the donations from the people that kept me alive. And the images were just rapid succession of all of these products, of these things. And then in my spirit, the image, it showed, oh man, this is crazy. The packages, it was like chips, yogurt, a sandwich, and it was just, the only variation was the food product, but the logo was the same. And then I remember the one image was me holding up my address of where I lived, and it just it fell away, and behind it was the image of Luz, which was the supermarket. And then I remember I was in that supermarket looking in a glass case like they have, and all of the products says Luz on them. And then I remember looking up, and there was a big sign of their logo, and this was their logo, Luz. And it was a white thing of light coming, and there was a child kneeling at it on the left, and then it was a smiling adult. I know this is just rudimentary, but there was a smiling adult putting your hand out, like giving. So this became my God. This became my home. And I woke up to record this video 5 minutes ago, not however long I've been talking. But it showed this image, whoosh, 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 with, like it said, yogurt, chips, whatever. And this became, and then my paper with my address came up, and it just disintegrated and turned to this. And then I looked up, and then this was above me. And then right before I woke up, I was like, God, because Luz kept me alive. Now I have an understanding how the homeless, how the people on the street got there, how they forgot their old life, how they were refused by their old friends who still had value and wealth, how they went to authorities to help them and they didn't understand and they just looked at them like, you're a street person. You don't have an old life. You don't have a home. You don't have anywhere you need to go. And there is no help for you because you're just a street person. And then everyone else wouldn't listen to me, wouldn't talk to me. And then the only fellowship that I had was with street people. And the only help that I got from people that were in the world was, here you go. Here's food. Here's food. Here's food. Here's your food. And it was all the same corporation. And then, since it kept me alive, I didn't have anyone except people on the street that were already broken. And in that system, it became my God. And in the dream, I was convinced that Luz was my God. Because every time that I had pain and discomfort from starvation, Luz was there from someone's hands. It was like a congregation of people preaching a corporation of light, Luz, to me that eased my suffering and burden of being forgetful of who I was just because of a condition that I was in. Because, if you remember, others took away and I lost the things that made me who I was because I was concerned about the things of this world. In the middle of the stream, I woke up and repented, and then he went back to, he knew that I was terrified of the sins that caused me to go into this. And then I woke up, I repented, and he put me back in the dream to show me, to continue the dream, to show me just how easy it can be to be on the streets, just how easy it could be to be refused by the people that loved you at one time, but they are well off and you are not them anymore, so they go away from you. Now you're alone, and the only ones that will receive you are the people in the same condition as you. And they're not good counsel. Not saying that they're bad people or nothing. I'm just saying they have no counsel. For they are in the same lost state. And how a corporation became God because of fleshly needs, food. Literally, their logo was light. It was a beam of light shedding its rays onto a kneeling child and and an adult smiling. Just this is the provider. Standing in the light of a corporation that provides sustenance to a fictitious family became an idol for me. in a dream of revelation from God. Because before bed, I said, teach me in a dream. This was not demonic. But it was terrifying. Just how easy an idol can replace what I know to be true. I'm going to share this. Maybe you can too. Shalom. It's coming. The king's coming.